Hi, I'm Shirley Ballas, and I'm in great company.
Hey guys, welcome back to Great Company. I'm really excited today because we have an amazing episode. Now, for those of you who don't know, I went and did a television show in the UK called Strictly Come Dancing. In the States, they have it. It's called Dancing with the Stars and so on. And there's a judge on it called Shirley Ballas. She's been on it since 2017 and she is amazing in lots of ways. She's opinionated. She loves the dance. Dance engulfs her soul. She was very kind to me when I was on the show, and since being on the show, which was in 2021, I think, I got to the final, by the way. She has always stayed in touch and we've become friendly with each other. And today I've managed to persuade her to come onto Great Company. I want to talk about her relationships. I want to talk about her life, dancing and everything surrounding it. I'm going to try and talk to her about the Strictly controversies, which we'll see if she wants to talk about it. But it's going to be an amazing conversation day, which I cannot wait for. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the show, please do. It does so many incredible things for us I cannot explain to you. And if you can share it and tell everyone about it, that would be amazing. Okay, here we go. Please enjoy this episode of Great Company with Shirley Ballas. Obviously, I did Strictly Come Dancing. I got to the final.
I was there.
I know you were.
And when you broke your ankle or hurt your foot, whatever you did, and they had to pull you out.
You were there as well.
I was there as well.
But what people don't know is that we also hosted an event together once. And we travelled all the way to Birmingham, I think it was. And then we travelled all the way back. Do you remember this? And we chatted the whole way.
I do remember.
And in the car, because, you know, I know you from Strictly and I know you from passing in corridors and talking about things, but that was the first time that I would say that we became friends. And I couldn't believe how insanely fascinating your life is.
Oh, well, there you go.
Full of hard times and sad times, but happy times and love. And so today on this podcast, I want to try and capture all of that.
Okay.
In the space of an hour. So good luck.
Okay.
So I think we should start right at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a place called Wallasey, which is just across the river from Liverpool, so the north of England, and on a housing estate with a single mum and a brother. And times were very, very tough when we were little. You know, my mother is she's my queen. She is the true queen. She lives with me, you know, and I just love her to bits. What an amazing, amazing woman she is.
How tough was it growing up?
Well, I think when you don't have a father influence in your life, at the time, you don't realize so much, but the other kids used to make fun of you. So you were the two kids that were getting the free school dinners, and the other children would stand at the gate and say, "You don't have a dad, you're on welfare." Wow. And they'd, really quite mean to us. But I always took things, even my mum said from a young child, I'd be thinking, I'm getting a free hot lunch here. It was awful for my brother. He struggled with it. He didn't want to go for the free dinners. And I would say the kids were generally a little bit mean. Some of them were nice, but there was always that stigma attached to the fact that you were, with a single mother and no father.
That's a strange thing for kids to attack.
I think kids get what they hear at home. And I think most of them came from that unit of having mums and dads and brothers and sisters, as where my mum, she was the one that had to go. She was the breadwinner, very proud, my mother. And she had so many jobs just so that we could always have the best school uniforms, clothes were always pressed. And she did the best with the means that she had. So I think that, it was just difficult times all round back then, I think.
What do you think it does? Because growing up, without a dad, your dad left when you were 2, right?
Yeah.
What is the difference having such a strong mother but an absent father? What do you think that does to a young girl?
I think it was only years later that I used to look at my best friend, Karen. I've got a friend of over 50 years and she had that solid unit. And I used to look at her when the dad would be making a fuss of her, and he'd be with her at all the competitions. And I used to think, what's it like to have somebody that you're their queen, A dad always revolves around their daughters and little girls is my observation. So I would say it was later on in life that I struggled with it far more than when I was little. Of course, I had my mother there. She taught me work ethic. She had 4 jobs at one time, I remember, just to make ends meet. You name it, she did it. She wasn't proud. She did whatever she had to do to make it work for the family so that we could eat every week and have nice, clean clothes.
What does that teach you about work ethic?
Well, what I've realized through my life, I was one of those people that I would say had above average talent, but my work ethic was off the chart. So if you worked 4 hours, I'd be the one working 8.
Get out of here.
And I think I've never been late for anything in my life. I've never missed a flight, being on time, all these things for my life, making sure my private lessons, I was there on time, making sure I never lost my shoes because I only had one pair. Nothing in life is for free. Paying it forward was another thing that I learnt from her. So some great lessons from her along the way.
Would you say no father has potentially impacted your relationships in your life?
I would say my relationships have been a disaster all the way along the line, all the way. But having said that, and this is only from my perspective, I'm
Sure.
still friendly with Nigel Tiffany, who was my first fiance at 16. He's my financial advisor today. I left and then I ran off with this guy called Sammy Stotford, and we went right to the top in the dancing, and then I left and then I went to America and I married Corky, 22 years there, and then I left. And then I've had a couple of boyfriends and that all ended in disaster. And then currently, as I've just split with my boyfriend of 6 years. So I don't really know, I look back and I never had that example of that family environment, and I look at other people and I love it when I see that there's still the mum and the dad and the kids and they all get there. But what I am truly grateful is that at 87, I still have my mother, and that she lives with me and I get these precious moments with her because she's the only thing that's been a staple in my life.
Wow.
No friend, no marriage, no nothing. She's been the main staple in my life. And other than that, my son. And I have 1 or 2 good friends. I have a very small circle of people around me. I'm not the most trusting person at all. And I think that all comes from, the childhood and
Yeah.
the ups, the downs, and having to do. I used to travel from age 10 all over the country on buses and trains while all the other kids' mums and dads took them, and cars and things. No one ever asked me if I needed a ride or can we help you. So it was really fending for yourself from that age. And
Wow.
my dad could have bellied up and he could have said, oh, I can do this or I can do that. He never did anything, not even bought me a pair of dance shoes. So when he
Seriously?
passed away 2 years ago and his sister said, I think you should fight to get this, this and this. And I was like, why? He never gave me anything while I was alive. Why would I fight for something when he's passed?
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it just makes you a little bit hardened on the inside. I did care for my dad. You only get one dad. And throughout the years, I did see him occasionally, but nothing that was like deep. We never talked about ever how I felt, and he never asked me either. So
When he died, were you sad?
I went to the funeral.
Okay.
And I tried to talk to my mum about it. I had very mixed emotions because I think when somebody's like, I'll get emotional just talking about this. I couldn't imagine losing my mother. That to me, I've been with that woman through ups, through downs, through her cancer, through the suicide of my brother, through just everything in my life. Now her, I couldn't imagine losing. That will be very traumatic for me. But I felt that, because he'd passed, but like I say, I never had that girl-dad relationship, And they told me after he passed, your dad really did love you. Well, it was a shame I didn't hear it from him. Maybe in passing he might have said, I love you. But words to me don't mean a lot. Actions mean a lot to me. So, and, anyone listening, family, they always, give it large there. But the thing is, they don't live in my life and they don't live in my shoes and they never lived that childhood, so.
So do you think you find it hard to talk about things? Because, how do I explain this? You're so in the public eye and you're a judge on one of the biggest shows in the UK and everyone has an opinion. And whatever anyone ever says or talks about, there are always people who hit back with certain things. Oh, you're not right here. You're not. There's always criticism, whatever you do, whatever you say, you, everyone else. So do you find it hard to be vulnerable and be open in certain situations?
When I first got the job on Strictly Come Dancing in 2017, and my son, who's been in television, as you know, Jamie, or pretty much all his life, he watched the first series and he said to me, if you don't drop your walls and the barrier that you have around you, I'm going to get emotional again. He said,
Oh,
you're far
Shirley.
too, he said that it's stopping right here and you've got to let those walls down and you've got to share your experiences. And I think also in 2017, I was having such a bad time with press. You know, there was another time I remember that my mum had a friend came in and she had all the pictures of my brother on the wall, and they sold those pictures to the press. You know, so 2017 was a very guarded place for me at the time, and just people coming out the woodwork selling stories that weren't true. In 2018, we decided that perhaps it wasn't right for me to take the job back. And again, my son stepped in and he said to my mother, I know you've had a lot of press and everything between the two of you, but maybe you should focus more on your charity work. And that's hence when I thought, okay, I'll spend 40% of my time dedicating it to the Suicide Foundation, CALM, Campaign Against Living
Amazing.
Miserably,
Yeah.
Macmillan for Cancer, Alder Hey Children's Hospital, you know, a Centrepoint, all the different charities that I'm involved in. Hence, that's why I took it back in 2018. But I think over the years, I think I've learned to drop a little bit more. And I've never talked really about my father in any interview, really. A little bit, but around the edges, never really that deep feeling that it leaves a girl, a young girl, that could have done with a dad there, you know, while I was growing up.
Yeah.
Actually, even I look back and you know, my brother, he needed a man in his life, I felt. We had a guy that kind of stepped in every now and again, my Auntie Mavis, his husband. But he didn't have that father-son role model. There was no role model there for my brother, and I felt sad for that. Years later, when you look back on your life, you know, I felt, you know, had he have just stepped up. He was that kind of dad that we get ready on a Sunday. He might say, I'm coming to get the kids on a Sunday. My mum would get us all ready in the little council flat, you know, best clothes on, standing by the window. Never turned up. Over and over and over again. And then, oh, yeah. You know, my mum would go to the little corner phone box and let him have it because that's what she does. And he would say, oh, don't worry, I've got the gifts are in the mail. Never received a gift, never got a Christmas gift, never got a Christmas card or a birthday card or, you know, I can remember, you know, you remember things in your life. I remember one time when he eventually did pick us up and he said his mother was going to cook us this dinner. We turned up at the door. She didn't even know we were coming. So I remember that they had to share out this roast dinner that had probably been made for like 3 people that suddenly now you've got an extra 4. I never got a roast potato, by the way. I've never forgotten that. It was divvied out, and even as a small child, you just got that feeling that no one knew you were coming. So it was things like that, and they were very few and far between. He visited me another time in Yorkshire when I moved there when I was 15. So it wasn't the greatest of relationships, shall we say. Let me rephrase that. He'll always be my dad, but it wasn't a deep relationship that we could share things with, you know.
Shirley, it's so funny as kids, what we remember.
You do.
When you were my point is, as children, when you're promised something, you think it's real, and especially from your parents.
Well, as I've grown older now, there's several things I don't do. So lessons in life, you can play the victim and you can say, well, I'm like that because of this. Or you can look at the situation and think, I will never be like that. So I've never been like that. So if I make a promise to the best of my ability, I will carry it through. If I see somebody needs help, I will be the person that's there to try my best to help. And I never had that attitude with my own son or, you know, anybody I helped raise along the way. So the lesson I learned from him is that's not the person I ever want to be.
Have you ever done therapy?
17 years of it, yeah.
Congratulations, I
Yeah.
did as well. It's
I love
amazing.
therapy.
It's amazing, isn't
Because
it?
you can sit and talk. The man used to put his feet up, Dr. Stoll, his name was. He used to put his feet up on the couch and go, gosh, it's like Coronation Street there, Shirley. Give us this week's saga. So every week I had a saga. So yeah, I loved him.
The reason why I said is that I remember a therapist once said to me, which is, and again, I sort of don't want to generalize things, but they said, when you have your father's love, you know you can be loved yourself. And sometimes without that, it makes you not love yourself because you can't feel the love. And so perhaps that happens in life as well.
Yeah. People say, you know, do you love yourself? Are you happy? And I just say, what's happy?
Oh, sure.
Because happy is different things to different people, you know. So, and I've been studying that because that's my expression that I've used pretty much all my life, you know, because I'm constantly moving. I'm on the moving. So I don't know whether are you running away from something? You know, you're not comfortable within your own skin, so to speak. Trying to learn about that, even at 64, analysing my feelings from the past. But yeah, what is happy to you?
Well, what is happy to you?
What I've learned happy for me now is I've got this little grandson, and I enjoy my FaceTime call every day with my son. I've got one of those children. I'm blessed, to all the families out there, that my son calls me the majority of the time every day. And I have that relationship with him. And I like being with my mother when she's cooking in the evening. And everything else for me is just moving along the bus and keeping moving.
It's funny how we do that in life, right? I think I definitely was sort of victim to that, where I just filled my life, my time, with being distracted, because then sitting in the silence with ourselves was almost too uncomfortable. Because then thoughts and feelings and everything come and say, oh, I don't want to really feel this, so I'm just going to distract myself and keep busy. And then you don't have to think about what's going on.
Well, you and I are exactly the same, because if I get time off, which is very rare because I keep myself busy, I will be the one that sits there and I will go back all over the past, who did what, said what happened to my brother, my guilt feelings from that, my father, just different things throughout my life. Could I have made this marriage work? Should I have stayed here? Should I have done, shoulda, 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 shoulda. All I keep saying at the end of the day when I've rounded all that up is, the way my life moved, I'm blessed to have had my son. And without the journey I took, I wouldn't have him, and then I wouldn't have my grandson.
That's exactly it. You wouldn't.
So it's fate, if you want to. It's
100%.
Directions that you choose. I was just talking to my ex-husband the other day, and he made some sarcastic crack, which he does on a daily basis. And he's got a beautiful son who's an opera singer, Samuel. And I said to him, had we have stayed together, you wouldn't have Samuel and I wouldn't have Mark. So, we both agree on that, even though there was a lot of pain with us splitting up, so. That was my first husband, by the way, just in case you get confused. I've had a few.
We're going to get into them. When was the first time you danced?
The first time I danced was 2 years old, ballet. My mother put me in ballet and tap. And I just always, she said, even though I couldn't do anything, I wanted to be the star. And then at 7 years old, I was doing resuscitation on a dummy for the Girl Guides in a church hall in Liso. And I could hear this music playing in the room next door. So I kind of moseyed over, as a 7-year-old does. So drawn by the music. And there was this big brown door with a piece of glass circle hole in. I pulled myself up and I could see everybody moving. And I knocked on the door and I said to the man, what's going on? He said, well, this is the waltz. And then he said, sit down, and he put a cha-cha on. The waltz was Moon River and the cha-cha was Wheels. And he said, and we've got children's classes starting on Saturday. So I was like, wow, I'm here for this, but this has happened. So I rushed home and I told my mum, I told her about this lovely music I'd heard. She said, oh, I'm not sure about putting you in a venture, because she really didn't have any money. How much is it? I said, the class is 15p. She said, would you require shoes? I said, no shoes, nothing required. It turned out to be one of the most expensive hobbies I'd ever done in my life. But yeah, that's how it started. And I never, ever missed any time except for when I had my son. And 6 weeks after he was born, I was back at it.
So there was one point you said there, which is, and you, for anyone who's listening to this, you said you were drawn by the music.
Yes.
And you sort of made that point important. Why is that important?
Because people think, that you find dance. And I didn't find dance first. I found music first. And then I saw people moving to music. I didn't know what they were doing, but they were moving to music. And then when he told me it was the waltz to Moon River, I thought, well, I don't know what that is, but it looks pretty. And I started those children's classes. I loved the music. I still love music today. And I just love the way the body feels when it's moving, I just love it. I'm married to it. It's served me well, much better than husbands. Just kidding, boys, just kidding.
It's funny. I was in America recently, and there's a musician called John Batiste. Randomly, I was at this event, and he was playing there just by chance, and it was almost religious. Watching him, I can't explain it. It was as if he was put on earth to play music, and when he was playing the piano and he was singing and he was so in it, it engulfed everything about him. And I imagine when you found dance, it's exactly the same thing for you. It's part of you.
Well, so many of my friends, the whole of the housing estate ended up going to that school. I mean, I had a little girl partner called Irene Hamilton. We danced together from 7 till about 11. They all went, but I was the only one who kept it going, through difficult moments. I know I had Irene to start with as a girl partner. Then I got a little boy partner called David Fleet when I was 12. 14, I got a little chance to dance with Nigel Tiffany, Open to the World British Ballroom champion. I was a no one. But to dance with him was required to leave home. So I left home at 14 and a half to move to Yorkshire. And there was difficult. I was living with another family in a council property. I was grateful, but there was a lot of us living in a small home, and his mum was very, very, very strict. So at 16, I decided to move to London, and I was off, to see the world and get myself an apartment and find myself a job that I was not qualified for. I can still remember it was a secretary for Parsons and Whittemore Liddon Limited in Croydon. And it was the end of the day when I got that job, underqualified, but the man felt sorry for me. His name was Simon Byrne. If you're still there, thank you for the job, because that helped me pay for my dancing. So I was on and on and on and on, just trying to do something. I never was trying to win. I just loved dancing. I wanted to see how I could progress, and then given other choices and options, and the road I took helped me get where I was going.
When you're 7 years old and you start dancing and you start getting into it, your mother is putting you in the dance classes and taking you to these classes.
She never took me to the classes.
You just took a bus every time?
All the time. For age 7, I walked.
That is so dangerous, Shirley.
Well, it wasn't back then. It didn't feel like it was back then. It wasn't.
You're 7, 8, 9. You're young.
I know, but I used to walk the couple of miles to the church hall, come, sunshine, hell, high, rain, whatever. And that's why she said, I watched you always on time, always wanting to go. So the more I did that, the harder she worked. And then, of course, that was just a couple of miles from the house. Once I started going to Liverpool for lessons with this new boy partner, David Fleet, I got, then it was required. I had to walk to the bus stop, a bus to the train station, from Leasowe station to Liverpool Central, run across Liverpool Central to the Ribble bus station and get a bus that took an hour journey across to Crosby. It wasn't so bad going at 5 o'clock. It was awful coming back at night at 11 o'clock, at 10. And 11. So, and then we go to different competitions, and I was always cadging a ride home to see if somebody could at least drop me close to where I lived. My mother came once a month to the Capitol Ballroom in Liscard to watch me dance. It was close to the house. And if I went to Blackpool, she was always at Blackpool. But she couldn't go with me every week. We had Sunday circuit comps. She couldn't go. It was a matter of, you find your way there. You'll have to talk to somebody to try to bring you back. And then that's what I did. I was insistent, though, even leaving home. She thought I'd last about 6 weeks and come home, but I just always had this kind of fighting personality. I loved it that much that where there was a will, there was a way. And like I say, it taught me an awful lot of skills.
But that is, you're a young woman traveling back late at night from these places. That's quite a scary, surely, place to be on these buses late at night, 11 o'clock.
I always sat by the driver on the Ribble bus. And when I had to run across from the Ribble bus station to what it was, Liverpool Central, back then.
You would run?
I would run, and I could feel the sweat running down my back, but I was very vigilant. I just had that in me. And then I'd get on the train, and instead of getting off at Leasowe station, I'd go across to Hoylake, which is where my mother worked, in Finnegan's Steakhouse. And then I'd stay with her till she left at 2 a.m. or whatever. And I learned how to wait and help wash dishes and do things like that. So I was very hands-on. I've never not had a job, from about 13, whether it was working in the hairdressers. I could cook a roast dinner by the time I was 11.
Could you really?
Yeah, my mum was out working, and David would have his list. He was always on grocery, vegetables grocery, and I was from the co-op. So we both had separate lists, and then together we learned how to do a roast dinner. So when she got in, we had the dinner ready.
Wow, you became an adult so quickly.
Very quick. I think, on that housing estate, fending for yourself, my brother had a tough time at one point on that housing estate. And I was always the one who managed to sort of divert and go. He was also very strict, though, when my mother was out. He was 18 months older than me. And if I so much as even thought I'll go and hang at the corner with a couple of friends, I'd see him across the field and he'd come legging it, and I'd run home, and he said, "You're going to be a dancer. You're not going to hang on the housing estate." And he would never let me. Never.
Wow.
So, and strict. And I'd hide myself in the bathroom, and he'd just sit there until I'd eventually open the door and make promises that I would never hang out on street corners. Due to him, because there was a lot of untoward there on the housing estate. So
Shirley, your brother took his own life.
He did.
I'm so sorry.
This week, actually, on the 5th of December, 21 years ago. 21 years ago? 22, 21, 21 years ago. Yeah, it's gone amazingly fast, I have to say.
When I'm an ambassador for Calm as well, campaign against living miserably, amazing campaign, amazing charity that supports people who are really struggling. And we all struggle and we all have our boulder. And, you know, the really sad thing in this country and is that I spoke to Simon, who's the CEO of Calm, who's an amazing guy. The biggest killer for under 45 now is suicide, which is mad. That, you know, people feel hopeless enough that they just have to end their own life. When that happens to someone so close to you like your brother, what does it do?
Well, first of all those years ago, there was nothing like Calm. We were totally uneducated, and I was wrapped up in my life because at that time I had 2 other children I was taking care of, plus my own son, and they were all dancers, and I was just wrapped up in my world of ballroom dancing. I was in London, he was up north, and my mother went to stay with him for 6 weeks, but my mother's old school and they don't share. So what I should have done then, if I look back now, is got in the car straight away and gone to see the situation for myself. He was just in a bad place. He explained it like being in a dark black hole that he couldn't climb out of. He'd lost a lot of weight. The doctors couldn't help him. We tried to get him sectioned. And when apparently I wasn't there, but my mum was, when they took him in the car and they pulled up to the hospital, he recognised somebody that was stood on the steps, and he was the macho man on the housing estate, and he was too embarrassed. He made them turn the car around. So had she not have been there that day, then maybe things could have been different. And nobody talked about things like that. No one talked about things like that at all. And they just popped in with pills, you know, like these antidepressants. And it was just difficult all around. I still remember the morning it happened. I called my mum to say that Mark, my son, would be performing at St. Paul's Church in London, and maybe they'd both like to come down for the day. And my brother said, no, I'm feeling much better now, but you go, Mum. And against her better judgment, she didn't want to go, and I pushed her to go a little bit because she'd been there, you know, and was having this tough time. David didn't want to go, and it was that day he chose to do that. So for that, I will live with for the rest of my life. She blames herself, but I blame myself because I was the one pushing her to go. She felt she shouldn't have left.
Shirley, you can't blame yourself.
I know, but you do.
Really can't.
But you do.
No, but you can't.
It just was what it was. You know, he left a 10-year-old daughter. And, of course, I couldn't get hold of him that night. So I called his ex-partner, and she went round, and she was the one who found him at the house with her son. And then, of course, she died of alcoholism several years later. So Mary lost both parents. So we've taken care of her, and she is, to me, she's a hero. She's the most, she works for the NHS, and she's the most remarkable human being ever. Again, similar to me, you can play the victim, or you can think this is what it is. Of course it's difficult. This is what it is, and I want to be this person. I have a short life, and this is what I want to be, this person. She'd never give me a spot of bother, ever, in her entire life. So, and my brother raised her for the first 10 years of her life. So I think he did a good job.
Thank you for sharing that, Shirley.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's so difficult. I can feel the emotion. It's just because what's so awful about suicide is it's a solvable situation. And it's if you take that road, there's no going back, and it's so sad because it's just one thing in that day that can make you trigger.
It doesn't need to be that way, though. You know, now of course I'm much more educated, and that's what was so great about Strictly. I love the job, but the platform it gives you to help people, you know, and we get wrapped up in our own life. But if I don't hear from a friend, or I think somebody's struggling, I then stop everything I'm doing, and then I will go around and sort of do my best to try to check in. And I think that's what we can do, is we have to be more tuned in, listen more to what people are saying instead of yapping off that gob. You know, a gob is that in the north of England, gob, 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 gob. Because that's what a lot of people do. They're so busy talking about themselves, they don't take a breath to listen to somebody else.
Actually, it's so important to talk and share these things. It is so important because someone will be listening to this conversation now, and hopefully feel better or go and talk to a friend or neighbor or a brother or sister or someone and potentially save someone.
Yeah.
And that is what's so important about it. I don't think we should be afraid of sharing all these things.
Well, I think that we're in a new era now where people are more sharing. I mean, now I'm ambassador for Calm, like yourself. So many people. I mean, I've just had friends who've lost their daughter. She was in her early 30s. And it's just horrendous. I know so many people in different realms that have been affected by it. They know a friend or a family member or a child or something. And it's more prevalent than perhaps people have time to think about. But I think if we all would communicate more with each other and help each other a little bit more, take a breath, I'm always trying to do that now as I'm getting older. Just take a step back for a minute and breathe, have a look at what's going on around you.
So how does that make you...
Hi, Jamie, I'm so sorry.
It's producer Jemima.
HelloFresh.
Oh, it's HelloFresh.
I'm really sorry. This won't take a second. We just love when this happens.
HelloFresh is an amazing food delivery service, which means food gets delivered to your door and you can cook it yourself. And it has amazing ingredients and different meals each night, which is amazing. So, Jemima, what do we have?
We have sweet and sticky honey sambal chicken noodles.
It takes 25 to 30 minutes. It gives you all the ingredients of how to cook it, what to cook it with, how to serve it. It's amazing. We also have a smoky treats and butter bean winter soup, under 650 calories. It's amazing.
They've also got loads of Christmas stuff.
They have a festive menu.
Yeah, they have a festive menu. Fantastic.
It is unbelievable. And even better, we have a code for our lovely viewers. The code is Great Company F4L. Great Company F4L. It's on the screen right now, which means you can get 60% off your first box, plus 25% off for 2 months and a free dessert. Or you just scan the QR code, which is right here. Okay, enjoy it. It's amazing. Thank you, producer Jemima.
I'm so sorry. I'll let you get back to your interview.
Okay, back to the episode. You got engaged to one of your partners. Can you understand the Strictly curse? Can you understand why people seem to get very close to their partners?
Well, I can go and I can look at Stacey and Kevin Clifton.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that beautiful relationship there with their gorgeous child. And Gorka with his beautiful wife. Sometimes relationship works. Like I say, I stay in my lane. I'm there to judge cha-cha-cha, leg action, foot action, body action, synchronization, lovely neckline, lovely posture. Rotate your choreography, darling. I don't get too involved in the Strictly curse.
When I was dancing with Karen, he was just amazing. We would go into every interview and I'm sure every interview would be asking, are you come on a Strictly curse? With me and Karen, they never asked me once. And I said in the interview, why? And they went, well, look at her compared to you. And I was like, you kidding me? We could be dating.
Beautiful girl, Karen. Love her. You got a great partner there. But people say about this Strictly curse in Strictly Come Dancing, I could say it anywhere in the workplace. Anywhere.
Touché.
It could be the bank, could be here, could be there, could be the supermarket, paths cross, people fall in love, or when you're locked in a room for 4 months with each other, maybe things happen. I don't know. I'm not there. Like I say, stay in your lane, Shirley.
Now, this bit's going to be tricky for you because there has been some controversy recently.
Ooh. Where's me brandy?
I know we're not allowed to discuss it, but when controversy hits like that in a show like that, how, as part of the show, do you move past it? Do you just go, okay?
Well, I can't speak for the show. I
Of course
always
you
say
can't.
that I can only ever speak for myself. I've known Giovanni 10 years, as I've said in many interviews. I have never met a more grounded, kind person to me. Now, that doesn't in any way do I condone bullying, because no one has been through bullying more than me. So I think the BBC did a thorough investigation. It took a long time. They did a thorough investigation. And for the most part, and I don't remember the statistics, he got cleared. So that's enough for me. And
It's a
then we
great
just
answer.
keep moving down the bus and bring joy to people every single week so they can sit there and enjoy Strictly Come Dancing,
Shirley,
which is
that's
a
very good answer.
family show
What a
that
good
hopefully will continue for another 20 odd years or more.
Can I say this though? Strictly, which I didn't really. When I went, okay.
Didn't you have a great time there? You loved it, didn't you? You brought us all so much joy every week.
I loved every moment of it because, okay, this is my take on it. Strictly Come Dancing is a show about learning to dance.
Correct.
When you have to learn to dance, the waltz, the cha-cha, the American smooth, whatever it is, it's like learning a new language.
Correct.
And when you have a week to do that...
Well, you don't really have a week, do you?
You don't
By the
have a
time
week.
you do the VTs and you travel here and you do that and it takes 2 and you take all that time away, you're lucky if you get 4 days.
You get 4 days to learn a new language.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're then partnered with someone who is a professional dancer, they've done it maybe since their age of 15 years old, like you did. You suddenly realize, I did, this is from my personal point of view, you go, shit, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. This is tough. And it's not a show. People, I think, go onto the show thinking it's going to be lovely and this and that. It's a dancing competition.
It's hard work.
It is hard work.
It's a lifetime of work condensed into a few months. And I think that people at home would really like to know that, you know, those professionals have got to get you live.
Yes.
Ready for live TV on
In front
that
of
Saturday
13
evening.
million people watching.
But by Wednesday, you've got to be ready for your wides.
Oh, God.
Do you remember?
Shirley, when we train, you would train in different rooms around each other. I would leave my room and look in the other room to see if someone knew how to do a Cuban break, because I didn't even know what the fuck a Cuban break was, and it was Wednesday.
Absolutely.
It was horrendous.
You've got wardrobe, you've got to get your act together with your partner, you need to learn all the choreography, 1:20 or however long you're doing it, all as much technique as you possibly can, and then you've got to do your wide by Wednesday. A wide means that the camera is taking an overall view of what the performance is going to be for Saturday, and then by Friday you're in all rehearsals, and by Saturday you're doing your dress run, and you've got to be out live in front of 15 million people. That is not an easy feat for any professional, including myself, if I was doing the job that any of the other boys and girls have to do. It's not easy. It is a responsibility of the professional to make sure that you look the best you can look by that Saturday evening. And that's why I always say at the beginning of the series, listen to your teacher. Don't whine or complain. You know, if you get blisters on your feet, get a pair of flat shoes, but keep moving. Get as much information as you can in those first couple of days so that you've got it in your mind, the choreography and the timing. And then any small details after that is amazing. But it is the most spectacular time of your life.
And do you know what it taught me beyond anything, which was the most powerful thing, which I think you have learned, obviously, since you were so young. It taught me insane resilience. And I'm pretty resilient in lots of ways, you know, for different reasons. But it taught me resilience in the sense where when you get given, this sounds so strange that dance can do this to you, but I almost want to look down, I kid you not. You get given the cha-cha, let's say, on, I don't know, the end of the week. And on Monday, you go into London. Monday, Tuesday, a bit of Wednesday, you have no idea what you're doing. And your brain is going to mush. And you're thinking, I'm about to go out in front of 15 million people. This is going to be the most embarrassing thing.
Because it's remembering the sequence, the order of the steps. That's before you even get to the timing.
It's everything. But what it teaches you is that I thought I put myself in uncomfortable situations or put pressure on myself to achieve something. There is nothing quite like that. And when you really push yourself, you can really achieve anything you want to. You really can, whether that's learning an instrument, learning languages, getting the job you want, learning a dance. That's what it taught me, because you really are scared at the beginning. And then by the end of the week, when the Saturday show comes, you get through it and you're like, holy smokes, I've just done that. And you're like, I can kind of achieve anything. It's an unbelievable feeling.
The moment you sign up and you read all the rules and regulations and they share with you what the show is about is nothing in comparison to your first day when you go in and put your shoes on and you think, okay, you know, I think it's the most fantastic accomplishment when you can go in as a complete non-dancer and end up doing something by the end of the run. It's absolutely sensational to have watched over the 8 years, all these different boys and girls. And of course, Dancing with the Stars, I used to watch them all for years and over 20 years now. I've been following both shows. So I think you did remarkably well, didn't you? Got in the final.
It got to the final. Most dance-offs ever.
But I want to know on the semi-final, when they called your name for the final, didn't you think, that is fantastic, all those months of work, and here I am standing?
Shirley, do you want to hear a secret?
Yes, tell me a secret.
When I'm alone at home occasionally, I rewatch my semi-final dance on YouTube.
But you go back and you think, I did that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And everything and anything is possible. Everything is possible. Even when I signed up to do The Masked Singer, I can't sing. My son had earbuds in when I was trying to sing to him. But I wanted to go out and show that you try.
You got to
enjoy it. You got to try. One life to live. Just get signed up. Miranda, come on now, get signed up, Miranda.
Oh, wouldn't she be amazing?
I've been following her. Do you follow her?
Yeah. We tried to get on the show.
She's amazing. She was there at our show at the weekend.
She's amazing.
She is.
So who's going to win?
What I love about the final the most is that the judges don't need to pick the winner. That the audience viewers at home pick the winner, and I think they always get it right. Well, maybe not in your case. Maybe
not my year, they
but they do. They pick the winner that they're all comfortable with. Millions and millions and millions of votes. Of course, Christmas Causeland has been outstanding, as has Pete. Raw beginners. These are your two raw beginners that have come in.
Chris is unbelievable.
They're unbelievable. But all of them from the very, very beginning, I felt was one of the strongest casts we've ever had on Strictly Come Dancing. It was very difficult to send anybody home at any stage and any point.
Do you think there's such a thing as natural talent, or is it hard work and good teaching?
I think there's such a thing as natural talent. I've seen some people who come onto the floor, let's take the year that you couldn't dance on Strictly and Kelvin came and did his samba. That's a gift, that the way the body coordination of the body moves. So there is a natural talent, but talent isn't what I've learned in my industry, the main thing. You need a little bit of talent. You need a very good brain, and you need work ethic beyond anything that you've ever done in your life. So a mediocre dancer who's got all these three things, I've seen win major championships, and I've seen some immensely talented people not make the final. But you look at them and you think, oh my God, you should be winning. They're as thick as two short planks. They're not pliable. They don't adapt. Their work ethic is terrible. They're always late. They never turn up on time. They pull out of things when like I didn't feel well today. I've got a sore throat. I was in bed all day yesterday. But you'd have to drag me out of bed not to come and do this podcast for you. But some people don't have that. The minute they get like a man cold, sorry to do that.
No, it's
a little man cold.
It's true. Listen,
when my son has a man cold, he's like, he's in bed for 3 days. Mom.
I was saying to my wife, Sophia, she was like, shut up. I was like, I don't feel very well.
So, yeah, you've got to have a lot more ingredients to be a world champion. And then again, if you look at like Strictly, and we're coming now to the end of Strictly, it's not even about the talent or what they've learned. It's about the brain now, because the bodies are tired. They're exhausted. They've been going non-stop. And now they've got these final few shows that they've got to do. So they've got to really pull a strength, an inner strength from inside them, and a mental capacity that can keep them focused as they move into two dances. It's not easy to do. Not easy on Strictly, and it's certainly not easy in my industry. And it's not for the weak-hearted.
When you were young and you were traveling around and going, you're leaving home at 15 years old and getting engaged at 15?
Almost 16. That was it. Married. Nigel, I love you. I love you. He was probably, but Nigel was probably the right person at the wrong time.
Well, okay. 16 is pretty young, I would think. I can't speak for you, but I would say that we don't quite know ourselves at 16 years old and making a decision to marry.
He was 4 years older than me. We were living together with his family, and then we moved to London together. We were dancing together. He was kind, he was caring, and maybe, just maybe, because I'd never had that in my life from a man.
Yeah,
that fatherly thing. He kind of filled that void, that need for me. And then, of course, when he and I split and then I went on to be with Sammy, he also had that kind of same feeling, So I don't, what do you know about love at 16? And then again at 18 when I got married. What do you know? Because you change, don't you? Things change. And
I can tell you at 16, though, love is the strongest.
yeah.
Wow.
I never dated. I never went out to nightclubs
Never?
or anything. I never did that. Never had that. I was always dancing.
So who was the first person you kissed?
The first person I kissed, I think, was somebody when I was about 11 on the back of a coach. Can't remember his name, but I can see his face. You know, when we were all going to a competition and he just kind of put his arms around me, gave me this little cheeky kiss on the, side of the mouth. So that was cute. I think David Fleet, I had a little snog there with him and a couple of others along the way, but that's all it was a little kiss, So Nigel was my first true love.
At that age, I remember I spoke this when I was 16. That was my heartbreak. Oh my! I remember I was so in love. I was so in love at 16 because you don't understand the feeling. You don't get it. You're like, what is this feeling that I'm experiencing? What is this? It's crazy, right?
I'm not sure I was always in touch with my feelings.
You weren't?
I don't think I was in touch with them. I didn't really know what to feel. I just kept moving down the bus.
Really?
Yeah. I think my first true love that I ever really felt something really passionate was when I left Sammy and I thought I was moving in with Corky into Houston, Texas. That was my second husband. And I felt at first, this is it. We met somewhere and there was a chemistry and a connection. And I thought this is what love must be. But 6 weeks after being with him, after I'd left my husband, I realised that wasn't right either. I tried to come back and then my first husband basically said, see you.
Fuck you.
Yeah, basically. And and then I said to my mum, well, I'm not sure this is right for me. She said, well, you made your bed, you better lie in it.
Wait, can you break this down? So explain to us what happened. So you're married to Nigel.
So I was engaged to Nigel. We moved to London.
Yeah.
We were doing very well in the ballroom, waltz, foxtrot, tango, quick step, not so good in the Latin. Then my teacher gave me an opportunity to have a tryout with Sammy. And I said to her, well, I've got to talk to Nigel. She said, don't talk to Nigel. She said, you've got 10 minutes to make your mind up if you want to have a tryout with this man who's potentially going to be the next world champion as a professional. So I said, I'll take the tryout, you see. After 10 minutes, I'll take the tryout, even though I was engaged to Nigel.
Wow.
But I did go home and tell Nigel, tomorrow I'm having a tryout with Sammy Stofford. Are you okay with that? He threw me out with all my black plastic bags. Then I had nowhere to go.
Wait, hang on. You got to talk me through that emotion, though, because hang on a second.
Follow my life is quite difficult.
Oh, my. So you're young, okay? You're engaged to this person, and you get offered this chance to dance with Sammy.
I'm now almost 17.
You're almost 17. And that is a big move. To come home and you're living with Nigel.
Yes.
And to say that to him.
He was doing the ironing.
So you walk in the door and you know what you're about to say.
And I'm very nervous.
Wow.
But I said to him, you are the most remarkable ballroom dancer. And I feel in my heart that I'm a Latin dancer, waltz, foxtrot, cha-cha, samba, all those dances. I feel like I'm a Latin dancer. You're a ballroom dancer. We could still be married. We could be engaged, but let me have this opportunity. And he didn't want me to have that. So he said, if you go, we're done. And then just stood there looking at him. Kind of when I go back now, a little bit of an empty feeling. I just said, well, I want to try. I want to go. And he said, well, pack your stuff. So I did. And then I met a girl called Denise Weavers. They found a place for me to stay overnight. I went for the tryout the next day with Sammy into the studio with our mutual coach. He said, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you come from, but you've got this tryout with me because of our teacher. And I just did a few steps with him and he said, wow, you feel amazing. You can come home with me. And that's how it all started. Nigel was outside in our little yellow Mini, waiting to see if it worked or it didn't. It was just a mess. When I look back now, it was a mess. But when you're in it, I just thought, wow, this is a great opportunity. Maybe I'm going to be able to do my Latin now. I mean, I wasn't a great Latin dancer. I was okay, but I wasn't great. But I think I had potential. And then we shot straight to the top as professionals. And within 6 months, we were third in the world. And then I got married because the teacher didn't like my surname, which was Rich. We were piss poor broke. And she said, it doesn't ring well, Sammy Stopford and Shirley Rich. It needs to be Sammy and Shirley Stopford, the non-stop Stopfords. And that's what she named us. And that's every article that came out in the dance press. And we were together until I met Corky when I was about 22.
When you first danced with Sammy, did it just feel like, did it just flow? Did you feel it was working?
Well, he was ranked really high, 7th as a professional in the world, and he was like silk to dance with.
Explain that for someone who doesn't know.
Silk. So in our industry, we have some people who really use quite physical leads to move each other. And he didn't believe in that. He believed in efficiency. So he wanted me to be able to dance alone, and he could dance alone. And as two people coming together, we had such a sensitive silk-like touch. So we never got tired. We were never exhausted because we didn't use a physicality of lead.
Wow.
And he was amazing to dance with and an amazing dancer. And basically, he taught me the industry. And then, of course, we had that drama where I met Corky on a trip that Sammy and I were doing. And I met Corky and I fell in love. And then I left and I moved to Houston. I never thought I wanted to dance again. Oh, have me back, Sammy. Basically, fuck off. You're not coming back. And then I thought, well, what shall I do with Corky? Because it was just so much fun. And as a love relationship. And then
So Corky was the one that you maybe first really loved.
First one I felt a deep emotional connection with.
Got it.
But maybe I was just needed that, it was nights out and fun. I'd never had that in my life. And he was a chef, fantastic chef, made a great banoffee pie. Anyway, so I thought, oh, well, I better teach him to dance. So in 1984...
This is mad.
In 1983, I won the British Open to the World Championships with Sammy.
Yeah.
In 1984, I came back to dance it with Corky. Sammy was second, and I never got out of the second round. So, and what that means is, let's say you have 1,000 couples entering, we were in the 1,000.
Yeah.
So you win a title one year and you're dumped the following year.
Wow.
So I thought, well, I better try a bit harder. And I used all the technique and tactics that I'd learned from Sammy and adopted them with Corky. And in the middle of all that, I had a baby. So that was unexpected. But in 1995, we came back, Corky and I, to win the British Open to the World Championships. And Sammy was second. So it was quite,
Unbelievable.
He was high flying all those years while he was never got lower than second or first. I was going from the first round and, climbing from 1983 to 1995. So I was the only woman to ever win it with two people.
Unbelievable.
And the only one to be in the final 17 times.
Unbelievable.
With two different partners. It was quite...
You're like the Meryl Streep of Oscars.
Well, I never gave up. I learned how to adapt to the industry when they had forsaken me because I left dancing for Great Britain and went off to America. And then I moved back when I was 30 in 1990 with a little 4-year-old and my husband, thinking, okay, I've got to make this move back to Great Britain, represent Great Britain, and let me just see if we could make the final. And we did. And then we won twice, 95 and 96.
Okay, I want if anyone...
And then that marriage fell apart, so there you go. But I held that trophy three times, and I had the most adorable baby.
Exactly.
And I had twists and turns along the way and up and down and round that even my mother couldn't keep up with me.
Wait, just for anyone who doesn't understand how competition works, when you go into a dance competition, firstly, how brutal it is, and second, how does it work? There are rounds, there are people...
There are rounds, so there are qualifying rounds. So let's use 1,000 couples from all over the world, and let's imagine the Winter Gardens. So all 1,000 couples come in, and then, there's rounds. So if you don't qualify in the first round, the first, let's say, 100 couples are out. And then they just keep going down. You have the 96, and then you have the 48 and the 24 and the semi-final 12 couples until you get to the final 6. So it's an elimination process. So even to get to the 24 of the semi-final is fantastic when you think of all the amount of couples that we have all over the world. But to win any of those prestigious titles, let alone win it twice with two different partners, will go down quite historically in the industry, I think. So I've been there with a meteoric rise, and I've been there when I've had to start from scratch. But starting from scratch for me, living that comfortable lifestyle with Sammy and everything and starting from scratch was not a big deal because I was raised with not a pot to piss in. So it wasn't a big deal for me, and I have never, ever been attached to materialistic things. So furniture, homes, I've moved about 27 times in my life. I've been well off I've been super broke, and I've, always managed, like my mum says, it rings in my ear. If you've got good work ethic and you'll take any job to earn a living, you'll be just fine. But if your ego tells you, I have to be this and I have to be that, you're going to struggle. So I've done everything from hairdressing to, keep fit classes to you name it throughout my life. But starting to get to from the beginning has never been a big deal for me.
It's unbelievable.
I've left you wordless there, you see.
A little bit, because it's just, there are so many questions I have for you for, it's like a movie to me. You would have stayed with Sammy if it was about just winning. So then it couldn't have just been about winning, because you married Corky, who was a chef. So it was about love, but also you then trained a chef. I don't know if you know this. You trained a chef.
And that's why I understand everybody on Strictly Come Dancing. A lot of people don't know about me. I mean, at the very, very beginning, I was the one who got the opportunity to have the meteoric rise. But when I, fell apart and left and all that drama, and then got with Corky, I was the one as a female who had to teach a male to dance. Wasn't accepted in our industry.
Was it not?
No, because we're male dominated. So I had to take this beginner who, like I said, was a great chef, the West Chase Hilton Hotel that's still there in Houston, Texas, and teach him how to dance. And he was by far the most difficult person I ever had, because he had this great love of himself, and he would say, you stick with me, Shirley, I'll take you places, and he couldn't put one foot in front of the other. So, but what I learned from Corky was resilience. I had that already, but he doubled down on that. They used to skit at him, laugh at him. He'll never be a great dancer, because we weren't getting out the first or second round. He used to wear a suit of armor, and when we'd walk on the dance floor, he'd make this noise. And I was like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm bulletproof. And that's how he was. So he got to do that rise on his own terms. So when he won in 95 and 96, I couldn't be prouder that somebody had taken themselves, trusted me, got to that very, very top of the industry with not a positive person behind him.
Did you want to marry Sammy, or did your teacher push you into it?
My teacher. So when I met Sammy, very strict, stern man, and I probably needed that because I didn't know anything. And like I say, she suggested that the name, the Non-Stop Stopfords, was better than Shirley Rich. But Sammy and I never went out on dates. We never went to restaurants on dinners. We never went clubbing, as I learned that expression. He allowed me to go out on a couple of different things with other people, but we never shared that. And if I could go back now to the younger self, and I'm sure if we could both go back and change things a little bit, I think that we had this connection, Sammy and I, and as much as people in the industry have always tried to stop that connection, I think we'll have it till the day that we die. We've had our ups and downs. We've fought like cats and dogs over the years, but I can still call him, and I know in my heart that if my life fell apart tomorrow, absolutely fell apart, he could be that person that I could call. I know he'd be there for me. That makes me emotional. I know that he would always be there for me, even though we've had these ups and downs over the years. And Nigel, my financial advisor, Nigel, my first fiance, financial advisor.
I think it's actually, honestly, again, when I sat with you in that car driving back from Birmingham to London, and we sat for 2 hours, we chatted through your life. Your life is just full of, it's a movie.
It is, really.
And I know you've written your book, and it's amazing, and people should go and read your book because it's just fantastic, and we'll leave a link in the description. But it is a movie, and it it's sort of, there is this whole new chapter, new world that's beginning as well. Because, you are newly single.
I'm newly single.
Is there anyone out there?
You got any nice friends there for me, Jamie?
Yeah, maybe I do.
Yeah, okay. But I wrote Behind the Sequins, my autobiography, so that really my son and people that perhaps I'd never shared things with would.
Beautiful.
It's easier for me to write than talk sometimes. And then, of course, I couldn't write everything in that autobiography. So my mum said, well, why don't you write your other stories in fiction novel? So that's where Murder on the Dance Floor and Dance to the Death came. So when you read those books, you have to think, did I witness it? Did I take part in it? or is it fiction? Particularly when I'm talking about nipple clamping and slapping people on the bottom and what goes on behind the scenes and all the drama and everything else that goes on.
Nipple clamping?
Yes. And you know it's been picked up as a 6-part series, the first book.
Get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
See, that is amazing.
Yes. You see, you never know in the world what's going to happen next, do you?
See, that is amazing.
Yeah, I'm always trying to do different projects and just, share. And like I say, everything that goes on, all the drama in those books is definitely in my industry and not that I've witnessed on Strictly Come Dancing.
Shirley, you're an inspiration person to talk to because I just love your resilience. I love the fact that your life has been a lot of down, but there's also been up. And
yeah.
it's
up and down like a roller coaster, darling. Roller coaster.
Roller coaster, but you just keep, at the end of Strictly, they always say, keep dancing. And you just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Well, when I die one day, I would like to be remembered for the people I helped, not for the things that I did or the things that I gave, but for helping with my time to be able to help people, whether it's the next generation in the ballroom and Latin world or my charities, calm and helping somebody not take their own life or something like that. That's what I'd like to be remembered for. And also for forgiveness. So when you're going into Christmas, if you've got people that you've fallen out with, try to move on. The life is so short,
Yeah.
so...
It's beautiful. Shirley, we'd like to end the conversation with 8 questions. You ready for this?
I am.
You've got your answers?
I don't have my answers, but I have your questions. So
Okay,
a couple of them were a little bit difficult, actually.
Okay, well, you can just, whatever comes to your mind. Here we go. You ready for this?
Yeah.
What's a saying or phrase that always makes you smile or cheers you up?
Good morning, Mother. How are you feeling today? I'm still breathing. Oh, lovely. I love that. She's 87. That makes me laugh every time.
Best compliment anyone's ever given you?
That they admire my ability to give back and to work on my charity work, and what a good job, and lots of cuddles and snuggle bunny cuddles I get from people that I've helped.
What scares you most about yourself?
Being alone. I don't like being on my own. I don't like being on my own. In fact, I hate being on my own. I don't like my own company.
I think your company is amazing.
Well, that's sweet.
When was the last time you cried?
December is always a cry time because obviously that's the time that David took his own life. So I would say I cry quite a lot, always with my mother if I'm feeling pretty low. She's the only person I feel like I can really open up with my tears. The rest of the time I feel like I have to put a very, very strong front on. But I cry with her and she cries with me. So we do, but we keep moving along.
It's amazing that under the sort of the glitz and the glamour of Strictly, there is this sort of, the dealing with the anniversary and things like that. That's a lot to handle at the same time.
I can compartmentalize, and I have a big red button that I've had and I've on my shoulder, and I could be in the saddest, most awful time, but if I press it, it's lights, camera, action, and on you go with it, and then pick it up on your way out. That's what my mother taught me.
Because it's true, you never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And that's why you can never judge, because you never know.
Yeah, completely.
What's something you can't let go of?
I'm trying to let go of a lot of things, but I think a little bit hard to let go is that time with my dad not showing up and not being there and present. I know he's passed now, and I'm still working on just letting it go. Like I say, I'm a very forgiving person, but there are still times in my life when I think, even when my brother died, if he'd have stepped up and took care of Mary, and helped us with Mary when she lost both her parents, but he didn't. So there's certain things in that I'm still trying to let go of.
Family runs deep, always. Yeah. What's something you'd be embarrassed for people to know you like or want?
I don't have anything that I would be embarrassed for people to know, so...
That's a good thing.
Because I kind of share everything with people. Even when I had my boobs removed, I shared that. And when I had my teeth done, I shared that. I remember a journalist telling me once, Shirley, if you want people to talk about you, make sure you do your own narrative. So I've always learned to put my own narrative out first before the papers make it up. So.
What turns you off?
I think turns me off is a liar, somebody who says they'll be there and isn't, and that could come from my past. If you say you're going to be there at 12 o'clock, please be there because it's your time and mine. Don't be a diva. And what turns me on is great work ethic, to see somebody excited about trying to, in my industry, win or make the final or get out the second round, and they get excited about it. And that turns me on to try to help them to the best of my ability.
What do you like most about yourself?
Oh, dear.
No, come on. You got this.
What do I like about myself?
Yes, you do.
It's easier to say what you don't like about yourself.
Yeah,
What
but
do
you
I
can't-
like about myself? I like that I have repaid every ounce of my soul, every sinew of my body back to my mother. I like that about myself. I like to think that one day when it's her time to pass, that I will have given everything I could to the person who's given me everything I have. Yeah, see, making me cry. So this is again. So everything, there's nothing too great or too much I could do for her in any shape or form.
Swear word. Favorite one as a bonus.
Fuck you. And the horse you rode in on.
Shirley, this has been an honour. Thank you so much.